I'm starting the YouTube.
Can you tell me before I freeze my nuts off and go inside?
It's a nice view of the trees. Yes, it's great.
Okay, cool.
The other one is looking up at the corner.
Oh wow! I just came inside and it's like I seamlessly heard you in the bigger speakers. That's so weird.
Wait, you say you're gonna take a piss right now, or what?
What?
What are you trying to do right now?
Oh, I was just putting the phone outside so it wouldn't be showing a view of my neighbor's yard like a voyeur cam.
Okay. All right. What are we doing?
Oh, so yeah, this is cool because you can switch to whichever video you want to see big just by tapping on it.
Okay.
So if you wanted to see when I'm on Zoom and I see myself big the whole time, it's fucking unnerving and it's really weird.
Yeah.
So I just toggle to the outside cam and it's like, oh look, I can see if there's birds or some shit.
Yeah. Right. Yep. It looks like it has a lot more flexibility in terms of what you're doing with the program than Zoom does.
And by the way, if you enable low bandwidth mode, I think it turns off your video, but you can still hear audio, right? There's some weird thing that it does. You can hear me talking right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah. It just shows the O.
yeah, it does this weird thing where the window will like freak out and it'll vibrate, but it eventually restabilizes itself. I think that's in order to it's keeping you from disabling and enabling low bandwidth mode too quickly, so the program doesn't crash. Mm-hmm. But they'll probably change that eventually. But it's a weird. It looks like the program just like took crystal meth or something.
How do I enable low bandwidth mode?
You hit the three dots that are vertical dots by the camera on and off.
Yep.
And then you can enable that, and then
what's it called? The low bandwidth mode?
Yeah, and then tap your screen to make it switch back to...
There isn't a low bandwidth mode available.
You have three dots that are vertical next to your camera button on the right?
Yep.
Hit the three dots.
I did.
What do you see?
Manage video quality?
Yeah, it'll be under toggle camera.
Oh, it's manage video quality. It's probably slightly different because I'm on a Mac. Are you on a Mac?
I'm on an iPad. What options do you see, though?
I have like 4 options for low bandwidth.
Oh, cool. What are they?
Low bandwidth, low definition, standard definition, and high def.
Does it give you numbers?
No. So low bandwidth turns it off completely. This right here is low definition.
Hold on. Move your hand or something. Okay.
Does it look any different?
Yeah.
It looks the same from my end.
Well, because that's the local feed.
And this is standard definition.
Okay.
And this is high def.
Yeah,
Hello.
leave it on high def. See, what the interesting thing is about this kind of app is it will automatically switch to whatever the person's... It measures the network connection, and then it'll toggle to the highest thing that's not dropping packets.
Okay.
So you know when Fabian goes chunky on Zoom because he has tin can internet?
Yep.
That's... and I say that lovingly because all of India has tin can. So I would have just pissed off like 2 billion people with that comment. But
luckily, all of India is not listening.
That's because it's switching between different compression algorithms. for the video, and it does it really badly. Dude, Zoom has been in the news a lot lately. It turns out they have really, really shitty settings, and like meetings are getting hacked with this thing called Zoom bombing. I've been sending you articles.
Zoom vomit?
Zoom bomb.
Oh. No,
Like, there's a way
I
to
saw that
hack
article. I didn't read it.
There's a way to hack a Zoom meeting and inject like a whole bunch of rogue script bots, and then they can like all of a sudden like flood the chat and say things like that are really bad. And there's like dozens of them, and the admin can't close them fast enough.
That's not good.
But it turns out their security is bad. Oh, so the whole point is, once they open it, there's no setting that they actually need to toggle. The only setting that maybe you want to toggle if you don't like it having words and buttons is you tap the screen once and then it just goes to all videos.
Okay. This setup is pretty straightforward. I don't think people are going to have an issue with it.
Good. So we should probably send the link out, huh?
I just sent it to Daniel. It looks like he's going to be hopping in soon. I don't know. I forgot to send out to people about the meeting, and usually people forget or they're too worried about the apocalypse to be remembering things like this.
I'm going to start an upload real quick from the audio program, so give me just a second to do that so it's done by the time I'm done. Audio share.
Daniel will be the first guinea pig.
Sweet.
And we have, we're also on live right now, so a couple people are joining us via YouTube.
Cool. Hi, YouTube people. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Nice.
So to the YouTube people, we are migrating to non-Zoom video conferencing, and thusly we're going to bypass the 45-minute very rude shutdown of our videos. So hopefully this will be a nicer experience overall.
Oh, and also, Gary, this is something that is a paid server thing. I'm looking at setting it up on my server too, but right now it's running on a managed cloud instance from the people that develop the software.
Uh-huh.
So,
who's paying?
What's that?
Who's paying?
Right now we're on a 2-week trial, and there was some confusion with the, I didn't understand how the tiering worked for the pricing. It's either $4 a month or $40 a month, but the, it said, it's $4, and then it has a slash, and then it says 10 user minimum. And so I figured the most it can cost is 40, but it might be 4. So I'm not actually sure yet, but I'll find out in 2 weeks.
Okay, well, find out the cost, if there is going to be a cost that I will handle if it's within the scope of the Snail fees. If it's not, then we'll have to figure something else out at that point.
Okay. Also, we can use this to chat instead of Messenger, and we can send pictures, and we can send video clips, and we can do voice calls, and we can do these video calls person to person at any time. It doesn't put a tax. It doesn't. There's no limit. It's an unlimited service.
Okay. Yeah, if it's $40, then that's very likely not going to happen. At least from my end. If it's $4, that's reasonable.
Well, if it's 40, I can pay half of it every month. If you can pay 20.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see. I think Zoom was 15 to bypass that thing. See, like there's a certain part of me that does not give any shits whatsoever about security as it is known, and it's difficult to explain why I'm like that. But like Facebook, Instagram, I know already that there's nothing that is known as security. To me, there isn't any privacy. Like privacy is a pretend thing that NPCs wear as like a
well, yeah,
a mind thing.
Let me put it this way to put it into context that you can relate to. You play chess, and you have the pieces. You take them out, you put them in their positions, and then you play by the rules of the game. But you can move the pieces anywhere you want.
Right.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, if you use Zoom, you have to move the pieces only when Zoom tells you to move the pieces. And if they change their mind on how the pieces can or can't move, then you have to follow along with that. And if you're invested in that ecosystem, you have to put up with it.
Mm-hmm.
With this, I already was installing both this video program that we're talking with and the chat program that we're talking with on my server at the same time, but I've only been limited by the amount of time that I've had to screw around with them. And right. Some system issue that I was having with the web server that I had my hacker Russian friend, who is incredibly smart, runs circles around my brain the other day for 2 hours with a screen share. I logged in with my password, and he was trying to troubleshoot it to fix it to get it to work so I could install these things. And he was looking at it, and he was laughing, and my brain was like frying watching what he was doing. I understood it, but I'd never seen like half of it before.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
What was he doing exactly? Do you know?
He was looking at kernel register options and memory registers and stack traces, and he said that he would have to debug it, and then he found an option that was screwed up in the kernel, and the node wasn't running, and it was segmentation faulting, which means it was breaking, because there's a 32 megabyte limit placed on Java apps, which doesn't make any sense. And so he said, dude, just write DreamHost. They're not clueless. They can fix this. I've been a customer since 1997. And I was like, haha, you beat me. I've been a customer since 2008. And so we're just laughing, but he's a really cool guy. Wiseleo.com is his website.
Okay.
Leonid Kanashov. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I'm not Russian. But
Leonid?
Leonid, yeah, he's a really cool guy.
Interesting.
And so, to finish the analogy, all of these things that we're using right now, the tech to do this is installed. Well, I have the software, but it's not installed. But I'm looking at it, I'm trying to install it, and it's free, and I have it. So, we can move those chess pieces any way we want. If I wanted to write...
Chill.
Hey, there he is. Let me just finish this.
Where am I?
You're in... So Gary, if
what
I wanted
the world is going on?
If I wanted to make it different, I could make it different, and that's forward thinking. This is the future, man. So Zoom is not the future. This is the future.
Oh, is this? Yeah, I noticed something's different. This is not Zoom. Okay.
Good job, Danny.
Hey, dude, your camera is clear as fuck. You look great.
That wasn't difficult, right, Dan? Was that difficult to get in here?
No, it turned on right away. I didn't want to do it on my phone because it always, stuff like this just works really slow. It always freezes. So I gotta do meetings or something.
I don't even think Dan did any creation of anything. I think he just clicked the link and he came here. Is that what happened, Dan?
I didn't do anything though.
Yeah, he did nothing.
Did you register an account?
No. I literally just woke up and I turned it on just now.
Holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
What's that on the bottom? I just see a fence and some trees.
Oh, I put my phone outside.
Oh.
So we have a yard cam.
Yeah, so if you get tired of looking at anyone's face, just click on that one and it will fill your whole screen.
Okay.
and you can just enjoy nature instead of worrying about humans.
And also, you don't have to look at your face. If there's a camera that you want to see instead, you can just tap that and it'll fill it up.
Hold on.
Maybe she should join us.
Yeah, why not? Bring your wife
Invite her
in.
to join us.
Dude, where's that creek?
Yeah. That didn't
That
sound
sounds
wrong.
like that sounds like, oh no, you're crazy, right?
What did she say, Daniel?
I'll be right back. Just a
Oh man. I think Rin might be joining, I believe.
Не знаю, Делецкий, sorry.
Tommy is supposed to be here.
Hang
No.
on just a sec.
Jimmy. Where's Jimmy?
Hey, I hope Rin joins. I haven't seen her in a million years.
Who?
Rin, you said Rin's joining?
I think she might be.
Cool.
Jimmy's supposed to be here. Oh, I'm gonna see where he's at. Rin was here last week, but you haven't been here in a million years.
Me? No, I
Yeah.
was here the week before.
She wasn't here then?
No.
Yeah, last week we had I don't know, 10 different people on.
Yeah, the week before we had a really long show. It was like 3 hours long.
That's what last week's was.
Well, I guess the week before was like that too.
Yeah. I did 2 weeks in a row where I kind of invited all of anyone that I knew could come on.
And that's actually a really good format.
Free for all. That's what it was last week.
Gary, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
So that's actually a really good format for the Sunday thing, and then I think we should probably do a focused chat just for the collective itself some other time during the week. That way we can discuss tracking core topics that we want to, but we can also expand and integrate the larger community into our session to participate.
Yeah.
I don't know if you like that idea, but I think it's pretty cool.
I like the idea in theory.
It's a slightly larger time commitment, but at the same time, it's really not, because you probably spend an hour doing something completely retarded, just like myself.
Well, the main thing with me is that my time is now limited because I'm being a worker bee during the week, and I'm not used to committing large amounts of energy to these types of things, like structured things. So I have to decompress a lot of the outside time. What do you call it? It's something to think about. I might try and integrate. I think if that were to work, because we do spend a lot of time on Sunday anyway, so if that were to work for me, I would say I would probably just have part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is for the larger group, and part 2 is for the intimate group, just like we were doing before. That way, I wouldn't have to mentally divide the week up further.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my free time, that is. Psalm the Calm, hello. We have 7 people with us on YouTube. They're not feeling especially chatty, but they are here.
You sent them the link, though, if they want to join in?
No, I can do that. Does anyone on YouTube want to join the chat or help us test out this new... We're having a test here.
Yeah, come join us. Oh, hey, Jimmy.
Hello.
I was just in the Linux terminal. I was converting a Pink Floyd song from a WAV into an MP3. So now I'm back.
Why are you trying to hide?
I've been learning remastering this new app, so I've been messing with that. So it flips the video just when you're doing something. Because it's an iPad, it's not a computer.
Hi, Jimmy.
How are you, Jimmy?
All good. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. How are things?
Good, and you?
Oh, not too bad. Just gone a bit mental.
Oh, well, you can go outside whenever you want, but just don't try to go into public.
But yeah. Jump the garden walls.
I think Ren is trying to join. I do believe. Ren. Maybe Robbie will too. Robbie's active in the chat.
Oh, that's right. Send him. Is he green?
He just said something like right this second.
Send him the link. He knows who you are.
I know. I also know who he is. Okay. So
Jimmy, your video is really crisp.
I forget who we even have in.
Oh, he muted himself. Jimmy, you don't have to do that anymore. It doesn't have problems like Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stay in the conversation, Jimmy. We don't.
We're using a new system that has it's written by people that care about audio and video, so it should work really well.
Omar, fellow Jitzer. So I think if you log in without a username, it just says fellow Jitzer.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. I need a haircut.
I do not need a haircut.
I need a haircut.
If I was joining
Jimmy
the
needs a
military,
haircut, too.
they'd take me out the back and kick my ass and then shave my
No, you don't need a haircut, Omar. You're fine.
head.
I lose too many years and people don't respect me due to my age anymore when I chop off all my hair.
We respect you.
Yeah, for sure. Don't even worry
Thanks,
about
Jimmy. I appreciate that.
You know, it's funny, Gary, you say that, because when I worked at Six Flags, they made me shave my my facial hair every day and have a short hair.
Mm-hmm.
And my coworkers were like 18, 19, 20, 21. They thought I was like 22 years old.
Yeah.
Funniest thing in the world. They're like, "You're 35? What?"
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you are 22 at heart.
Oh, I'm 5 at heart. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I never grew up. That's the one thing that I've clung to for dear fucking life and drawn blood over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never giving that up. You do that, you die inside.
Uh-huh.
Become a shell of a ghost.
You do.
Hey, Ren, turn on your video and your audio. This works really well.
I'm trying to think who because who do we have in the collective that hasn't come on recently that's still like active?
Probably a few people.
Who do we have? Because I know some people dropped. I know Gayatri just said she wanted to take a break from it. Who else is even around? Oh, Fabian is usually here. Fabian, I forgot to ask him today.
Yeah, Fabian. Come on, Fabian.
He's sitting there like eating something right now, watching us talk to you.
That's true.
Fabian, stop eating acorn coffee and come join the chat.
Oh, and also Fabian was trying to send the Snail feed. Because Fabian basically is a woodsman and he doesn't do technology that often, so he doesn't have bank accounts or anything. So he's trying to figure out how to like fire up the Pony Express and send over some gold ducats or some, bullion cubes or something. And they got sent to the address that we were at prior to this place. And that woman is all types of something. So she doesn't even communicate with me anymore. And he sent like $20 in a check, which basically is just floating off in Oregon right now. She won't even communicate.
Gary, how did you get on with your noisy neighbours?
Oh, we moved.
Oh, you moved again?
We're in a new unit completely on the other side of the complex now. And we just saw, what was it, yesterday? someone yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? 2 days ago, we saw like because Andrea was making this trek up and down the stairs, and it's a good amount of elevation change, and she did it like 25 times or more, 50 times.
Gary,
What?
which link did you send to people that's just letting them auto join?
I just sent the overall link, which shows a bunch of different options.
Can you text it to me?
Yeah.
Because I think what's happening is because I'm using my iPad, it wasn't letting me right-click on it and grab it.
Let's see. Okay, that's what I sent. This is the same thing I sent to Daniel, and Daniel got on with video just fine. I think Rin just doesn't know how to select the correct option.
I think she's probably eating something and hiding.
You don't have to hide.
Your video isn't going to mess up the meeting join because this is a new system. Can I invite Ihor?
Yeah. Invite whoever you want.
No politician stuff.
No, none of that.
Well, you didn't want to invite Boris Johnson?
No.
I misspoke. I did not mean invite whoever you want. That was a complete mistell. There's a part of me that still tries to think, oh, everything's fine, and we can just have a big old party. And then I remember that there are cretins out there, unfortunately. So, did anyone do the mass meditation last night?
Nope.
No.
We did.
What are you talking about?
We didn't join it specifically as in trying to join that energy, but just in spirit. We were meditating at the same time. There was a group. We saw last night, Andrea joined into this thing it was literally like a 50-person Zoom call with Muji, Nassim Haramein was on there, a whole bunch of sort of bigger name spirit people were on there, and they were just dripping with Muji's the only one that I was happy with, just because he's pure in my eyes. But the other people were just doing the love and light and namaste.
Was David Wilcock there?
Huh?
David Wilcock?
I don't think he was there.
No, because he did one last night too, a mass meditation.
Yeah.
I don't think he was in that particular Zoom meeting, but he might have been. I don't think he was. The only two that I recognized were Nassim Haramein and Muji, but that was the first time I had ever seen Muji as a participant in an event rather than the leader of it, which was unusual to me.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we did breath work. I don't let the mass consciousness try to be too close to me because I don't like it. So it's pretty much the same for me as meditation always is. Nice and quiet. Rin, are you still trying to join? Where's Rin?
Anyway, how's everybody doing?
Really good. How are you?
Strange. And getting stranger by the minute.
I just remember Daniel when before you joined the group, I remember you posted in Mandela effects 25 times a day talking about
this because it affected me. I had personal things happening and it was driving nuts.
Yeah.
I am actually, speaking of that, I haven't been into that at all lately for some reason. I just kind of stopped caring about the Mandela effects.
I'll give you the best one, right? Here's my personal one. About 2 years ago, I took off clothes, threw them on a chair and went to bed. Got up next morning, the clothes were nowhere to be found. Searched all the wardrobe, everywhere.
Oh, yeah?
Clothes disappeared.
Are you the only one in your house?
They were never found, yeah. Never found.
Hey, Rin. That's amazing. Rin has joined the group. Can you hear us?
I'm good. How's everyone?
Excellent.
Hi.
There you are.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, everyone.
Rin,
Finally figured it out.
Rin's in the UK, right?
Yep.
How's it over there? Are you guys fully quarantined?
Yep.
You said you had a permission slips or whatever?
I think for key workers, but I'm not classed as a key worker or essential worker, so I've been home for 2 weeks. We're entering week 3 now.
Like not going outside at all, or can you go outside to get food and whatnot?
We can go out, sort of, they're letting us
Uh-huh.
go out once a day.
And
Wow.
who's recording that? Who's recording
It's very
that?
quiet.
Like, Rin, you already went outside. You had your one allotment for today. Go back in, or
I had
dot.
one allotted trip today.
The government said it was okay, right? Big Brother told you it was okay to go outside for a little bit, right? That's okay, good. I'm actually still working too, and I don't have a permission slip or anything. And actually, I see plenty of people outside, so I don't know what they're doing over here, but I don't think it's as stringent as in other places.
We have Thomas Talmadge joining us on YouTube, and someone else said this is one high vibration channel I've ever watched on the world of YouTube. I think that's a compliment.
I would think that's the compliment. Yeah. By the way, Gary, everybody's audio sounds really, really good.
Mm-hmm. I'm happy with it. I'm surprised that we managed to land in a good internet situation. Very happily, and also, word to the wise, this was somehow gifted to us by the crackhead, because in that apartment the internet was not good. It was just as bad as every other place we went, and this is the same complex but like 10 doors down. And the internet is like, it's the same as that McDonald's. It's like 70 megs up and 70 down. Very strange.
It's because we're by the office.
Yeah, we're by the office. So, and the apartment manager lives here too, so he's probably like, I want fast internet.
Maybe the crackhead is stealing internet access from the leasing office. Oh, hi, kitty.
Spazzy wants to say hello.
By the way, Rin, if you tap on any of the little video icons, if you want to see what's going on in one of them, it'll make that one the big one.
Right, okay.
Hi, kitty, kitty.
What a cute kitty. What's its name?
Spazzing.
Spazzy?
We noticed that she's half spazzy and half zen, so we named her Spazzing.
Oh, I like that. That's funny.
She's pretty young, isn't she?
She's what?
She's young. It's a young cat.
She's 7 months old. Her given name was Smokey, but we changed it to Spazzing.
That's the same age as Francesca was when I found her.
She's really chill for the most part. But
So would you be if you're getting your chin rubbed.
Yeah. She just had a couple fleas, so we had to get her this
Aww.
little thing. But yep.
I'm gonna heat up my coffee. Hang on a second. I can hear y'all.
You know, like, in my opinion, if theoretically the power structure were to sort of eradicate itself due to whatever means, like, the way that this conversation is going is how it would look. There would be a lot of silence and a lot of, what? Like, we can do things and talk and stuff? What? Like, that's how it would look. Because people aren't going to be used to actually being able to move due to their own volition for a long time. But I've been in that mindset ever since I realized that nobody could control me.
And it's also interesting, too, because a lot of the sort of discordance that people experience on a day-to-day basis in their heads is caused by how the technology that they use has a discordant factor to it. Like, dude, I think 40% of the conversations that happen on Facebook are people bitching about how Facebook doesn't work. So this is really clean, and it's really functional, and it breeds that intermental landscape of just having a conversation versus hearing people sound like robots and jumping across the screen and like being blocky and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
things blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When it's more natural, it's better for everybody. All I know.
Yeah, I do wonder occasionally how Samir is doing. Just occasionally.
Me too.
I know.
You know?
I know how he's doing.
Oh, you're still talking with him? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. He's still gracing you with his presence?
Yes.
He hasn't told you that he needs to distance himself from you for your own good, because he started out with that for me.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. I don't even know what happened. He didn't tell me anything.
Lots of stuff happened.
It was really weird. He basically was like, look, I'm connected to a bunch of really important people, and they've been fucking with me and destroying my life, and so you should probably keep your distance from me, but then, wait, I want to talk to you. And it was like this weird thing where like a girl takes her clothes off and says, fuck me, but then puts them back on and says, I've got to go home now, but then takes them off 10 minutes later.
Sorry, who are we talking about?
Samir.
Oh, okay.
Nice guy, but just like, he's just in that part of your life where you're like trying to figure out where you sit, and he keeps getting sucked into these like wormholes on the internet and reading stuff and then not being able to sleep and then drinking himself into a stupor and then saying that people were making him do it. I don't know. Nobody can make you drink. That's ridiculous.
Right. I like Samir as well. I do like Samir. I never did the final like chop as far as me personally speaking with him. I did tell him like you're gonna have to take a break from the Snail Collective because he was getting aggressive with me personally and for no reason because I don't do aggression like that. Period. So like almost nobody ever has any reason to be aggressive with me, and if you are doing that, then it's something you manufactured in your own head, and I will stop talking to you. So that's what severed our relationship.
Yeah, same here. Like with my management strategy in life is just be fucking cool and relaxed and enjoy myself. And if somebody is being well, I didn't start it. I'm 99% sure of that. Sometimes I do, but it's usually in the past when I was drinking. Right,
exactly. Or, drinking it will take a complex mind and just make it fully unintelligible. Like, when you're, if you have an intricate mind already, the people have a difficulty understanding you. You can't be letting ego get up in there or any type of feelings hurt, any of that type of stuff, because you will just sever the connection that is there. You have to be doing lots of work to make sure that, there's some communication is happening.
Absolutely.
It's called spirits for a reason.
The funny thing is, when I used to drink, I would actually notice myself disassociating from myself, and I would be excited about it because it meant that I didn't have to think for a few hours.
Right.
It's called spirit for a reason.
Yeah, well, Daniel, tell you what, on that note, when I had burnt Palo Santo in my apartment for the first time, that was by the bar. So I used to be able to hear this bar from my living room on my bed. It was terrible. It was actually louder inside than it was on my patio. And I burnt Palo Santo to try to get rid of the evil spirits in my apartment that I figured were from the bar, a quarter mile away. And I was drinking a cocktail, and I had set it down on my table, my living room table. And I kid you not, I walked off the other end of the room, and it was like I was holding the Palo Santo, walking into the kitchen, and I turned around because I heard a crash. And at the same time I happened to see it, my cup jumped off the table and I turned around just as it was like launching itself into the couch, which was soft, and it like blew up into 30 pieces and shattered all over the floor. And like, keep in mind that there was nobody else there.
Wow, so you basically had a poltergeist, huh?
Something was going on. It was weird, dude. I was completely like, whoa. I talked to a couple of friends after that on Facebook. I called somebody on the phone and I was like, dude, what do I do? And they're like, okay, get some salt and what essential oils do you have? And like ended up putting salt granules in like little dishes in the corner of like doorways and shit, and like putting sage oil on it, and like walking around and like saying get out of my space, and like things. It probably looked like I needed to go to the mental hospital, but a week and a half, 2 weeks later, some of the salt turned black, and like it totally all that stuff sort of stopped. It was really weird. So whatever my friend said to do actually did something good.
When you look like you need to go to the mental hospital, that's when you know you're doing the right thing.
Unless it involves harming yourself or somebody else, then 90% of the time, yes. That 10% of the time, usually it's like you're getting off of a substance and you're staring at the wall, hallucinating, knowing that it will pass. And that 10% is the gray area where, like, it seems like you're harming yourself because you're fucking freaking out, but you know that it's really just coming off of the drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, when I quit drinking, dude, like, for 3 days I was staring at the wall and watching, like, colors and shit. And it was, like, as my liver was cleaning itself out. I literally drank 24,000 milligrams of liquid ionic magnesium the night that I quit drinking. And 400 milligrams is enough to send you running to the bathroom with streamers out of your butt. So I was so depleted from magnesium that I took 4 times 4 is 16 over 24, of what, like 10, 12 times the dose that would make you poop, and nothing happened. I just went straight to bed.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
It means that the alcohol had depleted magnesium from my bones significantly enough that there was no magnesium in my body, and I took a huge dose of magnesium. So, Gary, 400 milligrams, think of it as 1 Flintstones vitamin. Okay. If you take 2 Flintstones vitamins, you get diarrhea because your bowels become loose. That's how magnesium works. Because the body has a saturation point it cannot absorb anymore, and it literally makes your colon go spazzy, and then you just shit your brains out until there's nothing in there.
I'm glad you shared that with us.
Well, I'm trying to explain it. I don't mean to be crass. I'm sorry. So that night, I took 400, divided into 24,000, and that many more times the dose, because from drinking, my body was that sapped of that vital nutrient, magnesium. You need calcium, magnesium, iron, salt, zinc, and a few other ones, but those are like the essentials to have like a functioning human body.
But you were drunk when you made that decision to make 10 to 12 times the recommended amount of magnesium?
Yeah, I got a little whisper from my inner voice that said, okay, since this is the last night that you drink and you want to quit before your mom's birthday, so that's in 3 days, and if you don't take this huge dose of magnesium, you're probably not going to live through the night. So just chug this and go to sleep.
Okay. That's crazy. Mine wasn't that. Actually, mine were pretty dramatic.
You also probably weren't drinking like a 6-pack of IPA craft beer for about a year before you stopped drinking every night.
No. I drank Steel Reserves. They were the cheapest, hardest alcohol I could find.
Oh, that stuff's nasty.
It's hobo beer.
It's disgusting.
I drank that in high school when I was like 16.
They're like $2 for the 24 ounce.
I drank that in Santa Clarita for a few years on and off. I would go and beg for change down at the 7-Eleven and bum cigarettes off of people buy a Steel Reserve, go and drink it in the field under the power lines close to my house, and then walk home ass drunk. And just hopefully nobody saw me and go and lay down. Because if my mom found me, I got the 9th degree. Like I used to go and beg for change, right, and then buy a beer and then walk up the street to my house, and she'd drive through the neighborhood looking for my ass. And she'd find me and make me, like, empty out the alcohol in the bushes, and, like, then she'd, like, do you want to ride home? I'm like, I don't want to ride home. I'm so fucking pissed. It took me 3 hours of asking people for quarters. But that's how much pain my body was in, dude. I just wanted to check out. I was like, fuck life right now. I just can't think. Can't do anything.
Yep. We didn't have any topic for today, did we?
I don't think so. Pick something.
Yeah, let's talk about the quarantine real quick. So what's really going on? We all know it's not just damn virus.
I still think they're doing accounting.
This is just a new way of performing the census, right?
Well, they gotta check the numbers because the budget's unsustainable, so they're just trimming and pruning. I'm still going with that. It's the most logical, simple explanation.
Or did Greta Thunberg convince them that we all need to just stop doing what we're doing to save the planet?
No, the UN would have... And that's something that I was thinking of, too, because they want people to stop. So there's two things going on with the carbon situation, Daniel. The carbon that we generate from our westernized lifestyle generates aromatic hydrocarbons that trees cannot absorb. If you burn shit, trees are very happy because they absorb the CO2 from shit that's burning, and they recognize it based on their genetics, and they're like, yay, shit's burning and it's making CO2, let's grow and let's produce oxygen. That's the normal cycle. But with CO2 from cars and coal-fired power plants, the trees are like, ew, yucky, I can't drink that, I'm allergic to that. And they get pissed off and they get coated in soot and then they die. So the UN knows this, and if there is really an evil alien overlord race that's trying to take over Earth, it knows that it went too far, if theoretically that's a thing. And they're like, well, so we gotta bring the Earth back into balance if we're gonna take it over, because if it blows up and does that whole pole shift shit, it's not gonna be any good to us for another 25,000 years. So fuck it. Let's just make everybody stay inside, and let's let the carbon cycle reset itself, and we'll see if we can still control people and try to pump the head full of weird crap.
I think the resets are a lot shorter than they claim, like the whole geological time frame of the Earth, after an extinction event. I don't know a lot about this stuff, but I just don't think it takes millions of years to restore life on the surface, or even thousands. I think it could be done relatively quickly. So if there's a reset, I think it could kind of jump right back relatively soon. I don't know why, it's just a gut feeling I have.
There's a cool chart that I saw the other day that I saved somewhere I could send you about viruses since like the 2000 BC or something, in the relative time frame that it came out and how many people it killed. So I think you're onto something there, and it was like basically trending forwards. Like the more recent the virus was, the shorter lived it was and the less people it killed. But there was one in like the Middle Ages or something that killed like 60 million people or something like that.
So the Black Plague?
No, it was a different one.
Oh.
But I think maybe these are like, I think they're not actually extinction events that are artificial. I think they're caused by evolution.
Yeah, they're kind of maybe natural cycles. That's possible. Just like kind of embedded like a cosmic clock in the actual frame itself of the Earth game. And then
yeah, like if you're not getting it and your DNA template is obsoleted, then you die.
And as far as the aliens go, I mean, the aliens they don't need to take over. They've always been here.
I know. I'm just
Am I right, Gary? Am I right, Gary? They've always been here.
I don't know.
I'm just throwing it out there for the YouTube folks because they like that stuff.
Hey, Omar?
Yeah?
Fabian's trying to join, but he says the link's not working. Maybe you can help him.
Sure. I'm going to flip off of the screen so I can... Where is he?
He'll be on Facebook chat.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
He'll be on Messenger. That's the only You gotta go back. Yeah.
I can't fucking deal with that shit, Facebook. Fuck.
You must. He says...
I mean, I tried the link a few times. I had to come back out, and then I think the third time my audio and the video worked. So.
I am part Scots-Irish, so I can talk like this. It's okay.
Interesting. So you think he just needs to click the link 5 different times, and then...
I don't see him. I don't see him.
He's on Messenger. He's active on Facebook Messenger.
Well, he hasn't sent me anything yet.
Why not?
For fuck's sake, I don't know.
To Omar. I'm gonna instruct him to talk to you.
Ehor said he'll try at 10:30. He's probably like drinking coffee and eating biscuits or something.
It's definitely after 10:30.
He's such a nice guy, Ehor.
He is. He's one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. That isn't just being nice to try to get something.
Oh no, he's actually nice. Yeah.
Very unusual. Exceedingly unusual.
I really appreciate his spirit. He's a really cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
Fabian. Oh God, I hope he's not on IRC looking for me. Let me see.
He's on Facebook Messenger.
Well, I can't. Okay, so if I don't know what it's like for you on the Mac, but my situation is I have a 13-inch screen, and if I open Facebook, it literally uses 5.3% of that screen size for the Messenger.
Oh.
And in addition to that,
and you can't see it very well?
I have to hit a button that's like 1/8 the size of the tip of my pinky to toggle between the windows, so it quickly becomes an exercise, and I don't want to ever use a computer ever again.
I see.
So I'm literally using Apple Pencil to interact with that because the tolerance is like 1/8 of an inch, and then it hits the wrong button.
Well, if you love Fabian, you'll do it for that.
I'm trying.
What else is new? Yeah, I mean, as far as the quarantine is concerned, or as far as anything that currently appears to be going on, my brain has outright rejected anything the media has said about anything, and I just continue on as if everything is normal, because to me everything is normal. I have not seen any uptick in anything. Sick people, ambulance craning down the street, police activity. I don't even know where a hospital is in Oregon. I don't even know if one exists. I was talking to Andrew about this yesterday.
Yeah, they
let
exist.
alone like if they're bustling and overflowing with COVID-19 patients, which I doubt. But
that's the thing. Actually, hold on. Let me talk about this for a minute. There's a lot of conflicting reports on that, where people are either seeing completely flooded over-the-top hospitals, or they're seeing completely empty ones. So they're both true. So what's actually going on?
we were talking about the two-world split idea as possible.
Because I work near a hospital, and there's definitely been more ambulances around.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily related to the virus, but there's a lot more police activity, a lot more ambulances around where I work. So
that's interesting. Yeah, it seems very conflicting. There are a lot of people on my Facebook friends list have specifically asked their followers and friends, hey, do you know anyone that's sick? You know, if you're a nurse, can you share your experience? And it's literally half and half. Half the people say, yes, I have 2-3 people, or I know someone who's died. And then the other half say, there's literally nothing. I don't know of anybody. I don't know of anybody that knows anybody. Hospitals are dead, etc. It's like there's two narratives, and it's either one or the other.
My wife knows someone, a pastor in Sacramento, that's in the ICU permit right now.
And what does he say?
In the intensive care unit, yeah. So
Does he say that that's very busy?
I don't know what he says about it. I just know that he has that virus.
Oh, he has the virus.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Omar thinks it's the mind virus, or he thinks it's. What did you say, Omar?
In part, I think there's a few things that are going on, but to be real direct about it, I think there's a component that's mental, where people, like Aurora said last week, are already dead inside, but they don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just walking around doing the thing that we call NPC, but really they're just kind of like a host body, like that Robert A. Heinlein book, The Snail, The Puppet Masters. He wrote it in the 40s. Fantastic book. It's like a 100-page novel, but it's called The Puppet Masters. And in that book, there are people that are controlled by a slug that creeps up on their back, and it kind of attaches to them like a backpack. And it controls and animates their body, and you can't see it because it hides under their clothing. And anyway, it's a really interesting book. But the whole point is that those people that would have this, quote, mind virus, like, they're not actually mentally sick, but their will has been overtaken by something, and they're not technically who they were before this happened.
Right.
But
Interesting.
to get on a more brass tacks level, most people are super, super unhealthy, and I think the people that are just suddenly dying and all of that, it's a classic correlation doesn't equal causation thing. A lot of people are just teetering on the fucking edge anyway, and it just takes a major stressor event, and then all of a sudden we can claim that they're dying of coronavirus, but really they just had like walking pneumonia for months, and their immune system took one more hit, and they're like comatose, goodbye.
Yeah.
I saw a video of a doctor in New York City talking about how.
Sorry,
like
Daniel, I don't want to sound like a prick, but the third possibility is there is this thing, and I don't want to sound insensitive to that, because it might be real too.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure it is real, but he says the ventilators don't help at all. Like this it's a type of virus he's never seen before, and he says
was that the guy who was talking about that what he was seeing was something akin to altitude sickness? Is that gentleman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, but one more thing, Omar, you're talking about it being embedded in the clothing, and that just reminded me of. Do you guys see the movie Beavis and Butthead Do America?
Long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, the mid-90s as Beavis and Butthead. They have a bioweapon in his clothes, actually. Beavis does. And they're going all around the country spreading the virus, and the feds are chasing him. And meanwhile, Beavis is going crazy, saying he needs teepee for his bunghole. Which is interesting, because what is everyone obsessing about right now? Teepee for their bunghole.
Yeah, I never got that. I never got that.
Predictive programming works like that.
What?
Predictive programming works like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, he had the bioweapon it was sewed into his pants. The virus that he was carrying, Beavis. You guys should watch that movie again. I probably saw it when it came out in the 90s too, but I remember it as clear as day.
I remember
you can codify something into popular culture, and then if enough people remember it in the subconscious, it becomes part of the group mind subconscious. That goes back to the Prism of Lyra stuff. Not to sound like Samir, but in Guys I'm Isolating 5, I was talking about the the Prism of Lyra thing, though, is very accurate in how the group mind works. So that's an important, and that's not a new concept. Like a lot of authors have written about that, but that's a very clear and concise, to the point version of it.
Right.
Because as a species, like two mosquitoes can talk to each other. If one's in China and one's in Russia, they can communicate electromagnetically just like humans, or just like trees, or whatever. And when you seed a concept like the Beavis and Butthead thing into the group mind, well, it's in the subconscious. Because I can't explain why everybody just went off and bought. It's the least logical thing to buy.
Well, toilet paper in gematria and numerology equates to mind control. The term toilet paper.
That's funny.
There's something weird about that gematria thing that I wonder if people who study it understand. And very simply, so I met this guy on the way back from Burning Man in 2010 who was obsessed with this shit. He calls himself Dark Light Mike. Omnifusion. He produces music and he's really cool. But we were sitting down at the bar in Terrible's Casino, buying $1 whiskey shots, and he was writing this shit out on paper, and I was looking at it, going, "Oh my god!" And what it is that he had been writing out correspondences for about a year or two, and he found that there were synonyms that had groupings, like groupings. So, like, Jesus is the Mushroom King, and he had formed, like, thoughts and sentences and paragraphs out of similar concepts and gematrized them together. And so that just got me thinking for a few years after that. There was one morning I woke up and was messing with this stuff. Sun plus moon over Earth equals pi, or moon plus sun over Earth equals pi, or I could never figure it out after that, but one of those combinations equals pi, and it was really interesting because that would allude to the way that the construct facilitates itself in like a macro and micro kind of way. But there's codified alphanumeric correspondences within every word, and they do overlap, of course, because a lot of words mean the same things, but it doesn't necessarily have a specific, it's not like math. It's similar, but it's more like calculus, where you can get stuck in derivative hell, or you can have an integral of something, or a digital root, but it doesn't mean that because the digital root is equal to the digital root of an apple, you're staring at an apple, you might be staring at a different species of apple, or something that resembles an apple mathematically. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I understand it. That's the best I could probably explain it.
Samir,
sorry, I gotta breathe. They're not the same thing.
Samir talks about the anagrams. Anagramming words is a similar idea.
Yeah, well, that's just taking the math and spitting it into a random number generator and having a program search for what comes out. But in the old days, you did that on paper, and it took you weeks.
Right.
The phenomenon is what's called finding meaning in chaos, and we just do that naturally.
Exactly. Thank you.
Gematria and anagrams are just like it's a format in which to do that.
Yeah, it's a lot like tarot. Helps people sort out their heads when they don't have enough understanding to just sit the fuck down, shut the fuck up, and listen to what their subconscious is saying. Tarot, you're led to those cards, and then you look at the card, and then you think about that aspect of self as an archetype that's on that card long enough to realize something that you, quote, needed to see, and the card showed it to you. No, it didn't, motherfucker. Your subconscious mind showed it to you, but you just stopped to think about it long enough to realize it. And I'm not being snarky, but that's how tarot works. And I got taught that in 2006, and this guy from Sedona goes, "Hey, would you like a tarot reading?" And I said, "I don't know, I've never had one." And he said, "Well, I'll tell you a secret that tarot readers are never going to tell you." And I said, "What's that?" And he goes, "You already know everything that these cards could show you, just most people's minds are too chaotic to realize it. All I'm doing is drawing your attention to a concept, and you're thinking about it when you see the card." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Oh, well, I'm okay then. Let's just hang out and smoke weed." And then this guy came down the mountain who was a weed grower, and bless you, he had a vial of LSD that had been cut from a crystal that had been in a freezer since 1973. And this crystal was made by the people who used to make LSD for Jerry Garcia. And he brought 400 hits of it to this party in the woods in Mount Shasta for the week that we were there. And he gave it to everybody quite liberally. And at one point, we were all sitting around campfire in the middle of the day, and he had put half a vial in a gallon jug of water and was passing it around, and he unfortunately employed the telephone system and said, okay, so you want to take some acid? And he goes, here, and he handed them the gallon jug of water. And there's like, some inordinately large amount of water in there, and acid is clear and doesn't have a taste. And so the system broke down at some point, and the people who were already on drugs just forgot to tell the next person that was reaching for the water thing that had drugs in it. And so this guy basically ended up accidentally dosing about 60 people when we were sitting around, and half of them were already high and tripping balls, but the other 30 or so that ended up being also high and tripping balls were not only having some of the best acid that I've ever had, but when I used to do that. But the funniest thing was that we all sort of synced up mentally, and we were all having very, very in-depth and very relaxed, lucid, fascinating conversations, and at the same time seeing like wormholes and vortexes and stuff opening up in geometric patterns all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, why didn't you go inside the wormholes?
He did.
Dude, I've done a lot of acid, and this was different. I had never seen like constructs and ripples in space-time open up directly in front of me without my eyes being closed, but there were like stuff like everywhere. It was weird.
That reminds me of Illuminatus trilogy. Have you read that book?
No.
There's a scene in there where they just have acid in water coolers, and they're trying to cool off a crowd that's having a sort of uprising, or they're organizing protests or whatever, and they were like, yeah, I think it's a good idea to give everyone acid. It'll help calm everyone down, get a look into their own selves. And literally everyone was tripping on acid fairly soon, and then that whole narrative wove into the story. It's a very crazy book.
Huh. What's it called again?
Illuminatus trilogy.
I'll look into that.
Robert Anton Wilson, something like that.
Oh, I've heard of that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's exactly what happened. Everybody just went from having a sort of discordant good time to having a very, very, very unified group mind, like super tight bandwidth. It was very, very interesting how it brought everybody together.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is hive mind, right? It's the same thing. I know.
Yeah.
The term hive mind has a lot of derogatory things about it, but at the same time, it can be a unifying force. That's not necessarily like, oh, we become robots.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like that.
Well, if you strip the polarity away from it and you just examine it in the predominant socio-narrative archetypal sort of context where people watch TV and movies, say take the show Friends. When that was really popular, everybody would watch the show Friends, and then they'd spend the next few days talking about the latest episode with their friends in real life. And they'd be like, did you see when Rachel did that, and then Joey did that? And then they'd recite the lines. And like, I remember this in high school. We used to do things like that.
Me too. I hated that show. I absolutely despised that show.
But that's the group mind that, if you remove the polarity from it, that's a fantastic example of how any sort of phase sync event can bring people together in a common context. It's the same way we make friends. We look for people who are interested in the same things that we are, and then we examine that frequency or that phase sync, and then we bond with them over that. We're very simple animals, but we're very complex animals in how many ways we can express ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But at the root of it, it's like a computer. Whoa. Gary went bye-bye. Oh, there he is.
No, I just blurred my background.
What does that do?
It blurs the background.
I haven't tried that yet.
It's not very good at tracking your facial movements, so it's choppy and it's blurring the edge of my face.
Oh, it's applying an unsharp mask to. Okay, so it takes the radius filter. Sorry, I'm going to be a photo nerd, but I'll make it easy. There's like 3 or 4 parameters that this plugin is using. One is called threshold, and that determines the maximum area that it focuses on. One is called ratio, and that determines the number of pixels that it's focusing on. And then the other one is percentage. So it pumps percentage up like really high, and then it focuses on just your face with the radius, and then it uses the threshold to mask the background. That's pretty cool.
Now, Daniel, I want you to translate that into what do you call it? What's the word? Layman's terms. Daniel, can you translate that?
What he's basically saying is that you're a reptilian shapeshifter.
Crap.
Oh, Christ. I'll try again.
Yeah.
In a sentence this time.
He's just using cover words for you. He has your back. Just don't worry about it.
It's a Photoshop filter that they're applying to the video. And you can use it for sharpening, but if you do it backwards, it also blurs. So in this case, they're using it for blur.
It's beta mode.
Did I do better at translating that time? I'm sorry. I'm a fucking nerd.
Yeah. Well, if you're saying something that's using words that or connections that I don't understand, like I said before, you get filtered out. No offense, but I actually do that with almost everybody. So the chance that I'm actually listening to you when you're speaking is sort of like on the 10 to 15% range.
It's true.
Oh, I know. That my dad told me years ago. He said, you're not going to get very far unless people understand what you're saying. So sometimes I forget, but sometimes I get sick of like being like the small tree, and I just want to be the Omar tree.
Yeah.
So I'll just let my branches sort of like fly around in the wind, but usually it makes a lot of noise and it confuses people, and sometimes their eyes roll into the back of their heads.
That's good. I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. It's just optional to me to dive into somebody's little fractal tree or not, and since I'm resting now, I don't dive into those trees too often. I stay very superficial.
Well, if I go off on a tech tangent, just tell me that I'm not making sense, because I don't know what people know and don't know. That requires a lot of effort to figure out.
Just assume everyone's a monkey.
Just assume
that the lowest common denominator is really fucking low. Assume that.
Oh, it's a Photoshop filter.
There you go.
Is that the Blues Brothers you have on your t-shirt?
This is Walter White.
Oh, Walter, yeah.
Yep.
Hi, Francesca.
You've seen Breaking Bad or no?
Yeah.
Yep.
Twice.
Hi,
Hey,
Francesca.
That's what our cat's aspiring to be, a fat ass. Francesca's nice and plump. I mean, sorry, well fed. You're well fed, kitty. No offense, Omar.
Aw, what a pretty little kitty. Everybody's getting their cats out, so should I get my hamster out or what?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, you should.
Yeah.
I have a different one. The Alexander the Great died.
Oh, no.
Aww.
Yeah. This one, her name is Betty. So, give me a minute. I'll bring her. Why not?
Please do. Poor Alexander the Great.
By the way, the first night that I had Francesca, she ran after her food, and she wouldn't eat it until I was petting her. And I thought it was the weirdest thing. I was afraid that she was gonna like try to eat me. You know, it's like a dog. When you pet a dog by the food, it like snaps at you and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out that was exactly what she wanted. And I thought, well, that's a weird quirk. And she's always been like that.
Do you talk to Francesca like a human being? Do you have conversations with her?
Just telepathically or whatever the mechanism is. Like, I just feel things and she feels things. And if, she'll come over and she'll sit next to me and, I'll know that she's there and I'll just like reach down and pet her and, it's really funny. Sometimes my mom will come over and my mom will be like, I want to see Francesca. And she's like, where's your cat? And then within a minute or two, when the cat doesn't appear, my mom assumes that the cat got out and the cat's missing. And she goes into this mode. She goes, Omar, your cat got out. And it's like this script that she runs. And I'm like, I don't interfere with the cat's business. We called the cat. If she wants to come out, she'll come out. That's not my call. That's up to her. And then as soon as my mom leaves, the cat will come out.
So she's just avoiding her. What a smart
So it's like, you know, some days she comes out and sees my mom, but those days when my mom is in that mood, she'll just hide and she'll come out when she goes home. And so it's really funny, actually.
How long does your mom search for her?
She's literally looked for until I have to tell her to stop because she gets obsessed and she starts opening all the drawers in my kitchen and stuff and like looking under the bed and moving things around and calling her, and I'm just sitting here like, it's really, really simple. The cat is in here, and if she wants to come out, she'll come out.
Yeah.
It's like the worry script takes over, and the emotions take over, and the mom thing takes over, and the mom has to find the duck.
Does she search outside, though? She goes outside and searches?
No, she looks in every, like, she'll open like where potatoes and stuff go, or like where plates go. Like she'll look in the cabinets and stuff.
Let me see again, Daniel. Who is this?
I know she looks like a bear, but I assure you it's a hamster. It's not a bear.
See? Oh my god, it's so cute.
What's that one's name?
Betty.
What's up, Betty?
I almost thought about doing Betty Page, but that's a bit extreme.
No, you gotta play that Black Betty song. She's black.
Yeah.
Oh, Black Betty. How's that one go?
Oh, Black Betty, bam, ba-lam, oh, Black Betty. Yeah, it's not the Cult, is it? I forget who that is.
Black.
They've got a funny name.
It's a really...
It's, I know who it is.
Ram Jam?
Yeah, I think it is Ram Jam.
We're going to listen to Black Betty real quick. And then YouTube's going to send me a copyright strike tomorrow.
Who remembers ZZ Tops?
Yeah,
I saw ZZ Top live twice.
What?
Yeah.
That's our kitty's nickname, ZZ. This is your hamster.
I think you're only allowed to play like 2 bars or something.
Yeah? So am I past that already?
Yep.
Crap.
Yep, turn it up. There you go. It's just enough. See, like, it's that thing. You know how we were talking about tech earlier and how tech integrates with tech and tech and tech?
Mm-hmm.
Well, YouTube, it has an integration with Shazam because Google owns Shazam. Shazam is that app that picks up songs in the bar that you're listening to.
Uh-huh.
So that's how they flag copyright violations in songs. They just have Shazam scrub the audio feed from your YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it picks up that there's a song in there that matches the copyrighted song, then it goes, oh, this song contains copyrighted content, flag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all automated.
Yeah, it's silly.
But I see it as more of all it has done is shut everything down. It has not like gotten more royalties to music content producers or anything. It's just made almost any movement difficult because flagging is happening all over the place.
Oh, of course. Like, we're having this discussion in the geek community like 20 years ago about how the recording industry is backwards, and they're going and they sued a 16-year-old kid who had downloaded like 2 albums off of Napster for like $25,000, like expecting him to cop it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Metallica did that.
The model is so backwards.
And really, how it actually works is if you're producing something that's worthy of being spread, then it should be spread. You yourself as a content producer should want it to be spread through any means. And then the notoriety of your sort of imprint getting spread so far should result in money, theoretically. Or, energetic return or whatever.
Well, it should result in some sort of useful utility add to your life, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Whether people want to just pay you to create your content, or whether people want to pay you in trade for your content, or like for example, I have the True Form website, right, that says I do this and this and this and this, and it's got some examples.
Mm-hmm.
Well, earlier my friend who has dementia posted some of his writings, and I had suggested that he like uses this notepad app to back up his writings because they're really good. And he goes, at this point in my life, I'm just trying to sort of make it through the day and such and such and such and such. And he posted this thing. It said, throwaway writings, and it had like 20 pages of writing on it. And I made a PDF out of it. And then he said, holy, Hannah, can I hire you? Like, I sent him the link to the PDF. And so that's what I mean by the content producers producing things of value.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what you're saying, and that's really the optimal situation when you can enrich other people's lives with the skills that you have, whether they're building porches or building web pages.
Right. It's really interesting how that model has, the realm is upside down, so it's natural, but the model to me internally, when I see something that could possibly be of utility to me, I know that the thing is going to thrust the paywall first. Like it did this, it went around backwards. So at first you're getting services, and then they're like, oh yeah, and can you pay us? That's more of a side thing, but a necessary thing. And then it slowly went over and over and over, and to where now it's first pay us, and then hopefully on the other side of that, you're going to get some utility at some point, but then we all know that the paywall has become more important and that the utility is lessening actual value. That's what I see.
Well, it's still kind of in the paywall, but then it's up to you to make something new with the tools. Like this thing that we're using right now has a cost, but if we can do something truly collaborative and fascinating with it, there'll be a lot of people that will want to be a part of it, and the cost will exponentially decrease based on the number of participants. Just as an example, you take that $40 and divide it by 400 people,
Yeah. Yeah, 10 cents per person.
Yeah.
See,
and if for whatever reason one person has more potatoes and just wants to pay the whole thing, then everybody gets free lunch for a month. And the way that it metrics itself out is anonymous in a sense where that's the true nature of the relationship. When you have a village and somebody goes out and hunts and has a really successful hunt, they don't require credit for having killed 5 gazelles. Everybody just eats and nobody asks who killed them. Maybe 2-3 people will ask, but that's not the important thing. Is he was just hunting for the village and he had a good hunt.
Right. It's like what we had to do as humanity was we had to pull out the actual value. We needed to conceptualize the inherent value exchanges that were already happening within an organic tribal community. We had to pull it all out. We had to rename them. We had to say, this is this, this is this. We had to give everyone hats and titles. And then I think it's collapsing. The card house that we built up via that method is collapsing back in on itself. But now we have a better mental structure on how the value exchange happens naturally between people. It's like we pulled it all out, we looked at it like this, and then the house of cards had to collapse, and now we're back to prior to doing that.
It's actually one of the core concepts of Burning Man is decommodification, is what they call it. And decommodification is exactly what you just described, where people realize the value of an exchange not as a transaction, but for the value of the exchange. And that is a fundamental tenet of human interaction that has been forgotten in a transactional society. So Burning Man has 10 core principles, and in a lot of ways, it echoes how people would live in a village or a larger series of cooperative villages. You have theme camps when you go there to the event, and you go there with your theme camp. If you abstract the word, you go there with your village, and you live in a very big village, which is just the area the event happens, for a week with the other theme camps. So you have all these different villages, and each one has a certain special interest. Like, they all have a name, and like, one camp is called Barbie Death Camp. And they have these funny, like, scenes that they build out of Barbie and Ken dolls. They make art out of it. Then there's another one that's the Black Rock City roller disco. And they literally build a roller rink for roller skates out in the middle of the desert. Mm-hmm. And you can bring your own roller skates, or you can use some of theirs, and you can roller skate. Then there's like there's something for every interest, but the idea is this concept appeals to the broadness of human expression and human nature and skills enough that something will be presented there that you can either become a part of, or you can go already being a part of. And that the power in that, obviously, is that it shows people that they are not just a unit of a transaction based on what their wallet is. They are a participant. And that is one of the other core tenets of Burning Man, is be a participant. Do stuff, interact, and add value, subtract value, just be a participant. Mm-hmm. And that's just, it's really funny, because the way this event was formed was by a random party on a beach, but what it evolved into was this guy saw a lot of things he didn't like in the world and decided to use art as a vehicle to bring people back to their humanity. And so in a lot of ways, it's a really, really interesting, large-scale social reunification kind of dealio.
Yeah.
Is it even going to be allowed this year?
I don't know. It happens on a government land, and there's 4 different jurisdictions of law enforcement that preside over that land.
Yeah, and I heard it got compromised pretty...
No, yeah, it did.
Oh, well, yeah. So I have friends that work there. They've worked there for like 20 years, and they are... It's a weird situation where they've had to increase the ticket prices because the two reasons. The government has wanted more money. That's been the primary one. And that's out of their control because that's where they hold the event. They could move it. They've thought about that for the last 10 years. But the other one is that they wanted to see what happened when they made the tickets more expensive. But they still give away a lot of tickets every year that are subsidized by the rest of the people who pay a lot. It's weird. It's hard to describe in a short form, but there's a lot of factors going on.
Fabian is texting in on the YouTube side.
Hey, how come he's not on here?
Yeah.
His phone is not working for some reason. He says he thinks it's because it's an HTC, which I have lots of doubt that that's any. He just needs to figure out how to download the app, I think.
Oh, let me get the Google Play Store. Google Play.
He says he isn't able to get the app, but maybe
does he? Ask him if he has the Google Play Store.
Ask him yourself. He should be listening right now. I think.
Fabian, I sent you a link on Messenger. It should take you straight to the app, and it's free, and it's very small. You use up more bandwidth actually just running the video chat than you do to download the app.
Yeah, I think he'll get it.
The app is 37 megabytes. It's like the size of like 5 selfies.
You sent him the link to the app?
Yeah, I just directly to the app.
Okay.
I actually hadn't done that before.
He should be in soon. You know, like, I think it needs to be discussed in a small amount, at the minimum, like how people can structure their own movements. That is a way that is outside of the current monetary beast system, because if you're surviving, then you're going to work, or else however way you're getting money, and your movements are to some extent keyed into the monetary system, with the exception of right now because everybody's home. But I think to discuss a little bit on mindsets coming out of beast system and into our own internal sovereignty and selfhood, I think that's a good discussion. And I don't know how long we're going to be on here. I probably can't go for too much longer. But any thoughts on that topic?
My brain was waiting for Fabian to message, but you were talking about the construct of the monetary system.
Ways for humans to move outside of that in a method that doesn't feel like they're just like blazing new trails with every single step they take. Like, what I'm saying is thinking of ways for humans to move and organize that is sort of outside of the monetary system, that doesn't feel so unknown, and there is some familiarity inside it. I know, like, meeting in groups like this is an aspect of that, but I mean in a way to integrate that mindset more wholly through everyone's days.
Oh, yeah, okay. I think that when I put my finger on the collective pulse of where people are in that pathwork as a society, most people are just now beginning to understand that they can express themselves as human beings to themselves, much less one another.
Right.
And that sounds really weird, but bottom line is people are just now starting to even have that discussion in their heads, and it's kind of like an aftershock from the system that you were talking about, having to work and all that, and being isolate from your fellow man and fellow woman, and just forgetting how to connect because you're in that groove of working and coming home and cooking and falling asleep and doing it over and over and over and over.
Right. And it has removed the need for humans to be, what do you call it, ingenuitive. The component that is necessary when you're exploring a new topic without any scaffolding around you. the model of modern economics and workflow removes that need for everybody because everything is compartmentalized and it all has been built up over many periods of years and with many specialists within that field. So you can't just go in there and explore because the correct methods have already been found out.
It's like a colony of ants. They just do it.
Exactly. And like if you got in there as a fellow ant and you were just like, hey, and they did this in the movie Ants, right? Or whatever Disney movie that was. They had the renegades in there and it just fucked the system completely. Didn't work. Like creativity within this type of system doesn't work. It works for you because like we need it. It's our lifeblood as autonomous individuals, but for the hive, it's always seen as a threat. What's up, Ehor? Ehor,
is he here?
Can you?
Oh, hey.
He is here. His mic is off.
Yes, I'm just about to switch the mic on. I've just finished doing something, guys. Gary, everyone, so happy to see you.
Yeah, welcome. I'm glad you joined us.
Hello from Cape Town.
Hey, there you are. Your video looks fantastic.
Ram, hi, how is yourself?
Hey, how are you? I'm good.
Good. I'm good too. I'm just like in the middle of sorting things out, and then suddenly your call came through, and everything,
Are you in a
is
store?
fast. I'm staying in the hostel for the so-called lockdown. And because we have a lockdown until 16th, I think, of April, 21-day lockdown. And it's very relaxed, very gentle in South Africa, like at least in Cape Town. Very gentle, very human rights respectful, very civilized, very calm, very orderly, except certain spots throughout the country which have been in some kind of trouble related to the, shops raiding, maybe something like this. But overall, everything's very, very good. I'm very happy to tell you.
That's good to hear.
So,
and
the place where I'm staying is called Deep Blue. It's a hostel. Managed and owned by very, very, very good people. Guido and is the owner, and he looks after the place like his home, and John Lee is the manager, and he is just like a wonderful host. And the congregation of people here overall, just most of us here are just like really good people. So it's very good. And I wish I could join you earlier, but I couldn't. I really couldn't. So
it's fine.
No.
It's you join when you can type thing. There isn't a ton of structure. The only structure is that it happens at 10 a.m. every Sunday. And we are experimenting now with this platform, taking a break from Zoom, because Zoom kicks us out every 45 minutes. Right now we're at 2 hours and 5 minutes, and we have not been kicked out, so that part is very nice.
Oh, and by the way, Ehor, if you are you able to take out your earphones?
Not really. I'm in a public place, and in the room they're all I'm sharing. So.
Oh, okay.
Not really, Rama. Not really.
What I noticed.
Why?
Interesting is maybe take out the left one. I'm just curious about something for a second.
Take out the left one.
Other side. Yeah, because the microphone is on the right side.
It's on the right side.
I'm not sure what you mean. Take them out of my ears.
If you remove just the left side.
The left side from my ear.
Just the left side.
Right, I have.
Because every time you move your head, I'm hearing this. It's not annoying, but I'm just curious if the from the cord rubbing on your shirt, if it stops.
I'll try to be nicer to everyone.
What I used to do when I had video calls with that is I used to put it into the top button of my shirt, and it would stop the vibration because the microphone is very sensitive in that. So he's picking up the cord running onto your shirt.
Aren't we all?
Oh, of course. It's no bother. I'm just wondering if there's a.
No, I'm just saying, aren't we all sensitive to vibrations?
Of course. I'm just always looking for the hack because that's what I do. I optimize systems.
But is it? But is it okay now? Or?
It's not troublesome. I was just curious.
He was just trying to. He was just trying to solve one more problem.
Because I don't know if you can hear that too.
I could hear that. I could hear that too. I could hear the noise, and actually, I noticed that problem myself when I would make videos, listening with my earbuds in, and there was actually no reason for me to do that because I'm not listening to anything when I'm making videos. But I have tried that, and the same thing happens. The mic rubbing against my shirt gets amplified, and it's just this scratching noise that is not the greatest thing to be listening to, but. If you're in a situation that you can't avoid that, then it's fine. It's not any massive deal.
I'm in a public place like 24 hours ago, so
yeah.
That's the best I can do, guys.
Yeah, it's okay. We're very happy that you joined us.
Thank you. Good to see everyone.
It is no problem at all.
It's good to be with your friends at this time, and there's a lot to there is a lot to think about together. I've been in talking and just like thinking together about what we are doing and what is actually taking place. I guess we our realizations become stronger, and I mean it's like and if you take the notion of dreaming this reality and just dreaming it into here, then we are dreaming it together, and I think together we probably make a better dream.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. And speaking of making a better dream, I'd like to celebrate that I've known you for about 3 years now.
It's thank you, Rama.
You've known Ihor for 3 years?
Reminder.
Wow.
I'm all over the place. I don't know where to sit now. It's just excuse me, please. I'll just find the place. I've found something. I'll find the place now.
What time is it there? It looks like it's late.
It's 8:45 p.m. We have Central European time. Even though it's even though on a sunny day you can see Antarctica from the harbor. I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
I'm kidding. Come on,
Well, if you were in,
but obviously they're very close, but guys, can I ask Ramo or Gary or someone who is in the discussion for a huge favor? Could you, in a couple of sentences, in a couple of phrases, summarize what you've been talking about, just so that because I really don't want to miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, take it away. You're way better at that than I am.
We mainly have been making jokes about everything and sitting in awkward silence. Kind of those things paired together. There hasn't been a whole lot of specific discussion aside from talk about the current COVID-19 thing and how it's affecting everybody. We have not really done that much structured discussion, honestly. Daniel showed us his remaining hamster. We brought some cats out and had cat discussions. Very simple, sort of.
Yeah, real simple.
Yeah.
Right. Michael, hi.
Michael? Sarah Michael. There's a Jimmy. There's an Omar. There's a Daniel. Or are you talking to somebody in your place?
No. I said hello to Michael, but he didn't hear.
Who's Michael?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. Daniel. I'm so sorry.
Hey.
I'm so sorry. Daniel, I am
No,
sorry.
you can call me Michael. That's fine. I don't care.
I had a pizza last night. Sorry. It's been a long night.
Francesca had a pizza?
No, I had a pizza.
Oh. Okay. Your pizza's just chilling, so you're trying to have the rest of it?
No, it's just the box.
Oh, I thought that was the actual pizza.
No, just the cardboard that came in.
I see.
Somebody needs to revive that cat.
She's laying in front of a heater, Jimmy. She's very happy.
I can see that.
Francesca?
So, you know,
I think, and I don't have. I'm gonna cut this off from my end probably relatively soon because same old reasons. But I think to discuss at least so we can internally have an idea of how we think that the realm is going to come out of this. What is the most massive? This is bigger than 9/11. This is much bigger, even though there's no physical that we can see yet. There's no physical stuff that we can see yet. Just destroying an economy like how Matt complains about over something that seemingly isn't nearly as big as they're trying to make it out to be.
Gary, it's a cover. We
Gary, I can't hear you. There is a problem with the sound, Gary. I can't hear you very well.
Just talking about how we think the world or the realm is going to come out of this thing that we are currently in.
Gary, the economy would have fallen apart either way. It's just a convenient cattle. It's just a convenient scapegoat for them to cover.
Sure, but that's fine.
But what is actually happening behind the scenes? Obviously, there is a war going on behind the scenes. But my main question at the moment is, the David, for instance, like if you take David Wilcock announcement that basically Trump is good guys and Clinton is bad guys, the so-called Hillary Clinton is bad guys, and the electronic concentration camp for the whole planet kind of camp. Yeah, and Trump is overall is good guys, so they're fighting behind the curtains, and we are the audience who is obviously just watches the empty stage more or less. Yeah, looks at the empty stage, and behind the curtains is the real action, so to speak. Yeah. I mean, what do you think of that notion? Because I think it's like, it's fairly, there is something to it if you ask me, but to what extent is it like a real essential, real and essential, presence, yeah, or is it just another narrative and another story and just like, a bit of a piece of an old rope, trying to extend itself into something really new, and something really real? What do you reckon? Can I explain myself properly?
I just know that the talking heads, and Trump is included in the talking heads regardless of if he's more real or not, the talking heads cannot discuss in the way that we can, but we can interpret what we feel like is going on behind the scenes with them, and we must, otherwise they're just, if you take them for face value, all you ever hear them talk about is the economy and jobs. You don't ever hear anything else. They talk about the economy, they talk about jobs, and they talk about statistics, and how many people did this and how many people voted that way, and it's the most boring discussion ever. You have to somehow get underneath politicians decide they can talk about.
The essence, the essence, of course, that's what I mean as well. It's like, to what extent Trump is actually, representing something real and essential in the narrative, in the political and 3D narrative, to what extent he's real, or represents something real and essential. What do you reckon?
Have you heard of?
The big thing that surprises me is how everybody is compliant.
Yeah, you're right.
That really surprises me.
It's scary.
Yeah.
I'm not complying. I go outside whenever the hell I want. Like,
no, but I mean the majority.
Yeah.
I go outside too. I think it's a testament to the power of people's entrainment to their entertainment systems. That's what it says to me.
But
Go ahead.
can I just say something? Mm-hmm. I started my lockdown, in 2004. Just because I lost any interest in going out, in doing conventional work, in doing conventional things, in doing something which was expected. I started my lockdown in 2004. And now I feel like the whole world joined me. And I'm very happy.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great.
What's that, Gary?
I think what is happening now is good. I don't think it's, and I don't even speak in duality terms for the most part. I stay aside from that for the most part. But in terms of watching the general impression of what the outside looks to me, this is something that is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this in the realm, and it's a way for people to actually look at themselves. They have not peered into their own, even if they're NPCs, they can still look inside their own existence and say, like, what is this? Why am I doing this? What's going on? Ask some questions, whatever.
Yeah, you have a good point.
You think it's a way of forcing people to wake up, the ones that haven't woke up?
It could be, and I also don't really believe in the idea that these types of things are cooked up. I don't think anything is cooked up. I really don't. I don't think someone wearing a dark robe in a dark room said, all right, guys, now it's time to shut down the economy. Press the button. I don't think that's how it works. I think everything in existence is working on trends and waves, and I think this whole event was seen either with predictive technology or with seeing technology. Lots of beings can see future potentialities. I think this whole thing was known of for a long time, and everyone has been preparing in some way or another. Whether or not you actually see specific timelines, you have gotten a general impression that something big was coming down the pike, and I think this is the biggest thing we've had so far. It's the biggest.
Have you remember the Trackdown series, the cowboy movie from 1965 about a magician named Trump who comes into a western town and he tells all the townsfolk that you have to buy his special umbrella because it'll save him from the end of the world.
Really?
So
it's very interesting.
So he goes up on a stage and he presents his product, his snake oil, so to speak, and he's like, okay, at midnight tonight, we're going to be bombarded with asteroids. Unless you buy my special umbrella, you're all going to die. And so everybody started freaking out because he uncloaked one object without the protection, and supposedly an asteroid hit it. But the weird thing is that the guy's name was Trump in the movie. You guys never heard of that?
No.
So they expected him to. The townsfolk expected him to save them from the end of the world, and he ended up being a snake oil salesman in the end and a fraud.
So his product didn't even work, even as some sort of sell my soul to escape. Like,
it was a heist. It was a robbery. He ended up robbing everybody and running away.
Okay.
You should watch it. It's on YouTube. It's called Trackdown.
Trackdown?
track down 1965. The frickin' dude's name is Trump. Trump. Yeah.
Track down 1965.
Yeah. Just put track down Trump. Yeah. So that's my view on it. I think we have a snake oil salesman that's robbing everyone blind with the Federal Reserve, buying everyone up, and then they're going to run for the hills, and we're going to be left holding an empty bag. That's just my perspective.
Yeah, I know there has been talk about, this is all about trying to get people to take forced vaccines or take the chip or the mark of the beast or whatever.
No, not even that. I don't think they care. I don't think there's going to be a forced vaccine.
No?
I think they're going to rob everyone blind and go into their underground bases, their giant ranches in New Zealand, and we're going to be left holding the empty bag watching the asteroids come in with no help.
What would the motive be, though? Like, how would that help anybody?
It's not about helping people. It's about taking everything from them.
No. All I mean is, if they did that, then all that was going to happen anyway. So, how are they involved? Other than us tracking where they're going because we think that they're our daddies.
Because maybe they want to continue they want to extract as many resources as they possibly could so that they can continue living in whatever they create, or simulation, a spaceship, a giant underground city. I don't know. They just need the last remaining resources possible. Just a theory, man.
I think that's a fallacy. I think they have everything that they could have ever wanted and more, and they don't need a damn thing extra.
Yeah, I don't think they need anything.
You don't?
And I don't think that they are even existing in the way that most people think.
No, that's true though. That is true. I agree with that.
They're slaves. Anyone who's near the top of the wealth pyramid is a slave to their money, much more so than we are slaves to the debt side of the money triangle. They're more so slaves than we are. The whole thing is dirty. It's not like any part of it is clean or healthy, but I think the people who have the more money are more slaves because they have to answer to more other people who need to take care of their money. So the bigger you are, the more money you have, the more people you are accountable to keep their little, slightly smaller amount of money correct. And it's just a big old headache. I don't know. I don't feel like they're real organized or able to have creative thought or anything. I think they're all under the same...
Okay, well, maybe it's not physical resources, Omar. What if it's the so-called soul harvest everyone keeps talking about? Maybe that's what they're seeking.
Maybe they're working for somebody else because they already have souls if they're human. Otherwise, if they're not, then why would they even need to hide underground unless it's just for show and tell? And if they're that advanced, then they could have already stolen everybody's souls without having to hide underground and go through this whole...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
So I don't think any of this stuff really adds up.
I don't know, but they made that freaking movie and then they made that book, 1800s. The guy was also, his name was, you heard about the book, right? About the time traveler named Trump who won.
I debunked that in 20 minutes. May I, please?
No way. You debunked it?
Yes. It's not a unique name. And the concept of doing that is as old as time. Simple, done.
That was in 20 minutes. And where did Ihor go?
I'm here.
Oh, you're here.
I'm here. Just switch the camera off for a second.
Oh, okay.
Oh, by the way, Gary, Teresa's going to join us sometime, but she hasn't worked her stuff up to it yet. But I keep nudging, and she really likes watching these shows.
Who's Teresa?
I've known her for about 2 years, and we talk all the time.
Teresa what?
Stansfield.
Okay, I think I know her. Well, I have her. Yeah, tell her to jump on.
Wait, so don't tell me you're gonna debunk it like Snopes tried to debunk the freaking
I already
Dean,
debunked it. It's so simple. It's eluded you. I'll try again.
wait, it's a Dean Koontz book, The Wuhan 400 from 1980 or 1984 or whatever. I mean, okay, you're saying all this is just coincidence.
Weird movie or weird book comes out that's talking about a virus.
From Wuhan. Not just the virus, it's from Wuhan, China. And it's...
And it said 2020 as well.
Or what about... wait. One more thing. Hold on. I actually got to go in a minute. So let me just say this one more thing. What about Dr. Creep, the 2013 song? He comes out and he says, Coronavirus Pandemic 2020. Did you hear that song?
No.
And he says the virus is carried through the jet stream and it's in the clouds. And then the zombies come out. Yeah, I'll send you a link, Gary. It's called Dr. Creep.
Sure.
That's another thing about the zombie. Another thing about the zombie. Have you heard of you've obviously heard, guys, about the government, what's it called? I'll just open it here. It's a zombie preparedness plan. It's a governmental paper. I'm at the cdc.gov, so government, obviously, yeah? Zombie preparedness plan.
What?
Center for Preparedness and Response.
Wow.
Yeah, this is U.S. governmental site, yeah, and it's the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Center for Preparedness and Response, Zombie Preparedness. Shall I send you the link?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Oh,
and you know, they've already seen a woman in Los Angeles round naked with a dead rat in her mouth. And it's been documented. It's like recent, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been pointed out by Chris Gill. Why did China so insist on burning the bodies of the COVID-19 victims? Actually burned them.
It would make sense in conjunction with Omar's mind parasite theory, because like when I went through that, what I considered to be the mind virus, I was completely incapacitated, and I don't know what it looked like on the outside, but on the inside it just destroys your whole world, so you can't really function anymore. So there's a high possibility that if it is the mind virus that's being transmitted, people are just going to lose their bananas completely, and they will look like zombies or whatever on the outside, while internally they're grappling with what we know of as the mind virus. I don't know.
There have been reports of some coronavirus patients exhibiting rabies-like symptoms.
Daniel.
But that's what I've heard, Daniel. That's been mentioned right now at Chris Geo live YouTube, that there is a mutation, not a mutation, but if there was an artificially made virus as a bioweapon, which is a mix, which is a mutant, a hybrid of a coronavirus and the rabies virus.
Right.
Yeah. And can I also say something? I've just been about, a couple of minutes ago, I was going to tell you, when you talked about...
Susie? You said the sound was bad? Sorry.
When you talked about... anyway, it will be obvious why I'm mentioning this as well. But in 2017, when after a year, after like 13 months living in Malaysia and Indonesia, I came back to Moscow. Yeah, I've never lived in Moscow like full time. I'd live for a year or two, then go somewhere else. Yeah. But so 2017 springtime, I come back to Moscow, exactly March, April. Yeah, and suddenly I start hearing a lot of people in America and I think in Canada and a bit in Europe, just a little bit in Europe, among the people who I spoke to, basically saying there are no people on the streets. There are no people. It almost became, I don't want to use the word meme, but it was like a recognized saying. Yeah, almost like a proverb or saying, there are no people, there are no people, there are no people. So for 3 or 4 months I observed in Moscow, I just couldn't believe my eyes. Everywhere I went, and I stayed at my mother's place, 28 kilometers outside Moscow, the picturesque, lovely, beautiful place, I mean, not without its faults, but, a lovely, lovely countryside. Yeah. So, and I would normally go to Moscow only because of the job assignment or because of the translation. Yeah. And every time I would go to Moscow, there would be no. Moscow is actually a very overpopulated place, a very overpopulated city. But spring, March, April 2017, there were no people.
Of 2017?
Yes.
That's very strange. Hi, Fabian. Fabian's here via second tier implementation. Wait,
What's that, Gary?
Fabian is joining via Omar's iPhone. You see him? Can you see Fabian?
Fabian, you came on a bit too late. Nice to see you. I gotta go, guys.
Bye, Daniel.
All right, nice seeing everyone. So I sent Omar, and I sent Rin, and I sent you the link to the Dr. Creep song.
Okay.
And he literally raps coronavirus pandemic in 2020. The song was written in 2013.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye, Daniel.
So, Igor, you're saying that in 2017 in Moscow there was the phenomenon of disappearing people?
Well, what I'm saying is, I'm just like basically conveying the facts of life. Yeah, I wasn't in Moscow every day. I would only go there maybe once a week, maybe maximum twice a week, maybe 3 times every 2 weeks. And every time throughout those 2 months, I would go to Moscow. There would be no people in a very overpopulated city. There would be no people in the middle of the day, or very few people. It's like there were no people.
Even
or much less, like maybe considerably less, like maybe 5 times less. If it was a very sort of normally crowded place, it would be like 5 times less crowded. And there was no 3D reason for it.
Is this including traffic as well, like cars?
That includes traffic as well. And I was in Luzhniki. It's like the main stadium of Moscow. Yeah, and it's not very central, but it's central enough. And also in the public transport, the light metro, the ground metro and the underground metro, the carriages were like not half empty, like almost empty. Every carriage I would go to, it would be like 1 or 2 or 3 people, sometimes empty carriages altogether. And then the crescendo of it was already in May, I think it was already in May, when I went, I was going to go to Volgograd that day, and I had to meet my client to pick up the ticket. And it was around Belarusian railway station, which is the very city center, yeah? And that's where the main street of Moscow starts. And it was about midday or 1 p.m., yeah? And the main street of Moscow, no people.
Wow.
That's really weird.
And I was just wondering maybe some kind of like ripple effect from what is now into the now, which is past now, but now then.
What is that? There's a song that says, "Where are all the people?" Where's all the music? Where are all the people? Who is it? Who is it?
I'm not sure, but also but at the very same time, the same was observed in America by people I know. Yeah, I kind of participated in the group, which in which your brother is as well, Gary. Yeah, and so I was kind of active in that group at the time, and people in America were also people in that group who were Americans, were also observing that. Not all of them, but some people did observe it. So it would be good to know what you think about it.
I think we are in a shared hallucination that pretends to be regular reality.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a
but
valid
it breaks
explanation.
down. I'm not joking. Even I think
I'm not joking either. I think it's a good point, Gary.
It's a shared hallucination that can always go toward chaos or away from it, and depending on how much actual selfhood people have, that's the way it's going to depend the movements of the people. Because if most of the people are not in control of themselves or even aware that they exist, something else is moving them, and who knows what's moving them? Who knows if it's the hive mind? Who knows if it's the televisions? Who knows if it's some, embedded cues inside of audios or visuals on the television? Nobody knows where their impetus to move is coming, and they do move in robotic ways. I don't see people being creative in movement, even walking down the sidewalk. You used to see people just like dancing down the sidewalk listening to headphones. Like I don't even barely see that anymore. And if there's a whole bunch of sort of strongly present self beings, which is like what we have in this room, then the thing holds together and it doesn't tend toward chaos, right? Because people are paying attention, and Omar's not paying attention, but most people are.
I am. I'm talking to Fabian.
I'm just teasing you. But if you don't have someone in control of themselves, then they're going to be controlled by whatever is the overarching structure.
Precisely, by the algorithm.
By the algorithm, yeah. And who knows? Just like I say with chess games, when the computers get too strong and they're playing against each other, the moves don't even look logical half the time. So even if there was a high-level supercomputer controlling the movements of the NPC drones, it might look fully chaotic to our eyes because it's working on some level of contextual understanding that we can't even approach via our sort of frontal cortex monkey mind that we kind of think with here. I don't know. Because it doesn't make logical sense. The movements of the people, for the most part, don't make a lot of logical sense to me. I don't even know if they're actually going anywhere. Sometimes I want to follow this endless stream of traffic and just like follow someone to the destination and watch them get out and say like, hey, do you know that you're like in the flow of something? Where are you doing? Where are you going? Who are you speaking to? Like, why did you decide to get in your car? And I know I'm part of it when I drive, but like, I don't know. There's some part of it that seems so very just background noise-ish. Like there don't need to be any destinations for these people just driving down the freeway, like a simulation. Like it's the observer effect. You don't need them to go anywhere, right? Until you.
I have an idea, Gary.
What?
What if that whole thing just is spurned out of the concept that because they're not doing the same thing you're doing, it appears that what they're doing has no relevance, and then you make the correlation that there is no contextual relevance and they're on some kind of autopilot. What if the things that you're doing are exactly the same way to them?
Definitely possible.
What if we're just doing all of our locally relevant activities and everybody is just in a framework that nobody is smart enough to make the entire thing pieced together in a way, otherwise you'd be God, so to speak.
Yeah, we are God.
What if it's that simple?
We're a dumbed down version of God.
What if God was just the local environment or something? Because that seems to be the only thing that has the carrying capacity to sustain all of us at once anyway.
Yeah. It's possible. I mean,
maybe that's what they meant. Big floating guy in the clouds.
he just doesn't talk to people.
No. It's the Earth. It's the Earth. Maybe the hippies had it right.
Talking about movement, and the CV, the so-called virus. I don't know, guys, if you've. I mean, Gary, have you seen what Aurora reposted today and the comments she made about about the social distancing and the human tracking system for the 5G? Have you seen it, Gary?
I did. I saw that.
Yeah.
You did, yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
What's that?
That's a great thing to bring up, and sorry I wasn't really present. Trying to make Fabian pop up was taxing my little peanut brain.
How come he didn't speak?
Perfect.
Hmm.
I can focus now. Sorry.
I thought he was going to join the chat because I saw like a miniature version of him on your phone.
We tried, and then it disconnected, and then his phone. I told him just maybe call the number, and I even offered to call him and just put it on long distance. But I have free long distance through an app, and I haven't heard anything. So,
guys, I'm not going anywhere, but can I switch off the camera for like 3 minutes?
yes, of course.
Cool. Thank you.
I'm going to cut this off at 3 hours, which is in 15 minutes.
When you do that, do you see an option to assign a meeting host? Because if you transfer me the meeting, I'll pick up the video recording, and then we can just stick the files together. That's very easy.
I don't even know if I am the host. I think you're the host.
You started the meeting that I joined.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh. How? Okay, so is it in the 3 dots, probably?
Yeah.
Speakers?
Probably meeting info.
Settings? Camera, microphone, audio, profile, sound, or more.
You're finding this at the same time I am, except if there was anybody that had the setting, it would be the meeting host. Otherwise, it would just continue on even if you dropped off, if there isn't an option.
I don't know if I'm considered the host or not. It's not an option with the 3 dots.
Okay, well, guys, if for whatever reason it does terminate when Gary closes his window, I'll just create a new link inside Rocket Chat for a new meeting, and you guys can join that one, and we can all continue our conversation.
Cool.
Okay.
Ren, you were able to join Rocket Chat, right?
Continue.
I saw you talking in there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, and Ihor, were you able to get Rocket Chat, or do I need to send it to you on Messenger?
Omar, could you send me the link in the messenger? Because
Yes.
First time I'm using it, so I'm not very confident what it is. And,
Excellent. I will send you the invite link for to make a new Rocket Chat account.
Cheers, thank you.
And then once you do, you will be in the system, and you just open the app when we have a meeting or you want to reach us in the chat. It's like a chat room, but you can do private direct messages as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you can set an away message.
Cheers, thanks. But coming back to Aurora and what she wrote about the 5G human tracking system, and, what do you think?
Did you see the thing that I wrote about the satellites and all that earlier?
No, I haven't.
It was on that comment. In 1952, you could read the date on a quarter from 80,000 feet.
I've been so busy today. I haven't had a chance, Omar. I was going to come back to your comments. I remember you wrote. I was going to come back, obviously, but I haven't had a chance. It's been very busy.
It's okay. I'm sharing for the group now and recapping you in real time.
Yeah.
So now you don't have to look at the comment. So in
Cool.
1952, the U.S. military had imaging technology on their reconnaissance spy planes that could take a picture of a quarter sitting on the ground from the height of 80,000 feet up in the air. Jimmy, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is in kilometers, and Rin, same. But you could pick up the date on the quarter from almost 3 times as high as a commercial airplane would fly, and the date would be razor sharp. That was 68 years ago.
What about pollution?
It didn't matter because they had filtering. The smog was actually thicker in the 50s in most cities than it is now, but they were able to even see through that. Come back now in modern day to 1990s, in the early 90s, they had satellites that could track a person independently without anything other than knowing. I don't even know how that worked, but my friend worked for the DoD and ended up marrying a Dubai United Arab Emirates telecom owner. He owned all the cell phone towers in Dubai. We haven't talked in years, and I assume she's happily married and probably has everything she ever wanted. But was a friend for a bit, and so she told me that they had this system in place in the 90s. So where are they now? I don't think any of this human tracking 5G, I think they're way more advanced than that, and you'd never know, and all of these theories are just the regular folks in the world trying to figure out what does 5G bring that's different, and why would I need to know anything about it? And then the people who get scared make these theories, and then everybody.
But what is 5G for? Well, what is it for? Ultimately, we ask ourselves, what is it for? It's certainly not for mobile communications. What is it for?
Well, I've read a bunch of white papers that have been written over the last 15 years, and I'm not going to make it nerdy, Gary. But to make it real simple, I have hundreds of pages of papers that have been written by the people who are making this technology, at least on the civilian end. What it looks like it is just a higher frequency wave. So you got your microwave that nukes your potatoes. That's a low frequency wave. And you've got your router, which is a kind of high frequency wave. And then you've got this 5G, this new thing, which is like, but it's only in the number. It's actually really, really small. And because it's really, really, really small, you can fit a lot of information into it. It works backwards from how it would make sense. But the smaller the waveform is, the faster it moves, the tighter it has to move to stay together and to hold a piece that would make sense. Like, if it's moving slower and it's really small, it'll fall apart and you can't use it to store information and send information. And I know I've lost everybody, but the whole point is it's just a different technology. And the military's had it for 30 years. They used it in Iraq to use for their communications. And now it's just coming to the civilian market.
Omar, it's just coming to the civilian market, but surely it's not. It's so obviously not for improving mobile communications. Who needs this? Who needs to download a movie in 1 or 2 seconds, or in 1 or 2 seconds, which is like 4 seconds faster than it is now? And for that, they're spending billions and cutting the trees and going into this trouble and these risks of destroying the. It's a major. It's an operation, a technological operation of unprecedented scale. Surely it's not to improve the consumer experience.
Oh, that part I agree with, that there's something else to it, and it may just be defense oriented, and it may be something really weird. But
no country is fighting any country. Nobody's going to go into war with anyone, surely, at that stage. It's always another level.
Ihor, maybe this is how they think they're going to bring about global peace, by watching everybody. I don't know.
Oh, no, that sounds more credible, Omar. If it's a Luciferian project, then maybe it is. If it's peace through control, maybe.
Oh, peace through accountability and simultaneous awareness. Like, the system becomes so self-aware that nobody can step out of line.
But it's completely against freedom and will and
actually no. I think
human and the essence of what we know and the
no.
sentience and.
I'm going to tell you why I disagree, because when the concept of free will is brought up for most people, they need something to compare it to, so immediately the concept of good and evil comes. But in true free will, I don't want to harm anybody, because I only want good for everybody. So in free will, yes, I could take this this lovely kitchen knife, and if I was a horrible, horrible person, I could hurt somebody with it. But I don't want to do that, and nobody really wants to do that. People do horrible things because they're driven to do horrible things because they feel like they don't have a choice to survive.
Or if they're possessed.
Hold on, just stick with this for a second. What if everybody had the same chance? Most people would probably not do anything bad, and if they did, they would quickly look really stupid, and or maybe the system would delete them. I don't know, but
yeah, but will it be a rule for us and a different rule for them?
I don't know. I couldn't predict that. I'm just wondering, maybe it's this way. I'm not arguing for that. I'm just entertaining the concept as a possibility.
I only want to weigh in once here because I'm going to take off in 5 minutes. But I think that in very general terms, it's a lot easier to just say the big bad government is doing something. It's easier to do that, okay? Because the alternative to that is generally, I don't fucking know. That's generally the alternative. And that alternative goes back to the age-old problem of what do I do with myself, okay? Like, it's not complicated to me. It's simple. And anyone can wax on and off with their opinion on what's going on, and it's convoluted and complicated enough that nobody's ever going to fully agree. So it still brings us right on back to where we're sitting right now, on our ass, doing whatever, and what are we going to do next after this video conference is over, and how does my brain make some sort of meaning out of that system that allowed this meeting to happen and then me to necessitate on doing something else afterward without going insane. That's my simple take on what the government's up to or not. I don't think it's that complicated.
But I gotta just ask a quick question. Do most people go insane when they don't have something to do?
If it's not meaning correlated to the rest of the people, I think yes.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
Most people have not looked at themselves. Like they can't sit for 1 minute or 5 minutes with themselves because they've been so inundated with information overload.
Most people haven't really done that ever.
Exactly. So we're gonna the fallout from this is, I think, mainly going to be from people having to face themselves, and they haven't done it their entire lives, so they're going to be like, oh, this is a thing. I have to talk to this. I have like an internal state that I've never noticed before.
People are terrified. That's one thing. People are terrified to face the inner void, the emptiness inside. That's one thing. And then on the funny side of it, one of the activities which I speak to my mother, and she told me the following. I mean, basically, to give you a little context, they've announced a paid holiday in Russia until April the 30th. So everybody is on a paid leave, and it's the whole country is in lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a mass movement, so to speak. People are basically borrowing their neighbors' dogs to walk them.
Really?
And I've just received like a GIF or a picture of a tired bulldog lying on the couch, and the caption is "Meet Sharik. Sharik is the only dog in this residential building, in the multi-story residential building. Sharik has walked 60 times today."
Really?
which kind of like, it's kind of made me think like the inversion we had been living in, is kind of flipped into normality. It's like we are in some kind of dynamic balance which is reacquiring its primordial essence, and it's like the true freedom and the true normality, the actual notion of normality is reacquiring its primordial sense.
That's a perfect illustration of what I was just talking about, Ihor, because all those people in the building don't have the normal things that they do during the day. So what do they want to do? They want to pick a normal thing that's still available, which is walking the dog. So now the dog gets walked 60 times in one day. And then, they don't need to worry about, is this okay on the dog or not, because they're getting their needs met, which is I need to do something normal.
Gary and Ihor, I really like where that's going, and I think that hits the nail clearly on the head. Most people have never really stopped to smell their own flower garden and figured out what they're about, and that's got to happen. And it's unnatural not to have done that, but we're in the place now, and so many people have never gotten that opportunity for whatever reason. Mostly work.
Mm-hmm.
Having to provide.
Well, we're at 3 hours. I'm gonna bow out here. So.
And I think it's normal to be scared of that. This was really cool. This worked really well.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks, Omar, for
thanks, Gary.
helping out with.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you, Omar.
Oh, no sweat.
I'm curious if it's still gonna go on if I leave or not. But I won't be able to know. Maybe text me, Omar, if it disappears, if I log out.
And I'll have a phone call to answer, so I may not be able to join straight away, but I'll be checking what's going on, guys.
Okay.
Thank you. It was
well,
great
I'm gonna start recording video on my end just in case it drops. As of right now, it's recording.
Okay, just let me know, Omar, when I disappear, does the whole thing disappear? That's the only information I'm interested after I leave.
I'll text you.
Okay.
All
right, guys.
Bye, Gary.
Stay
Bye,
sane.
Gary.
Peace. Thank you for using Jitsi Meet. Thank you to everyone on YouTube who's joining in. Who was joining in. We're done now. So. I'm going to shut this down. I need to do a bunch of stretches now. Peace.